I want you to see some terminology that is so used and so useful that you just absolutely have to know how these terms are used as you go throughout any security program. So whether you're taking a say a certification test like Security Plus or CEH, these security they use these terms in the same way, and there are very, very technical meanings in these cases that you absolutely have to know the difference between. Now I'm going to give you first this list of the important ones, and then a couple of notes about those, and then some of the less important ones, but I mean they're still important, but they aren't used as often. So the book does not divide them up this way. By the way, this is my own sort of categorization, but let's learn these terms and what they mean. And by the way, you'll notice that the definitions given in the book might be more in-depth or be worded quite a bit differently from the way I put them. So let's just look at them. First of all, an asset. Well, an asset is something of value, right? It's something that the company or the individual needs to protect. Typically, data. Most often, data is the most valuable asset that a company or an individual has. You can replace computers, you can replace systems, you can replace locks on doors. You can't replace data so easily. Once it's out, it has been compromised. So just something of value is an asset. A vulnerability is a weakness. In other words, what can go wrong? What can cause my data or other asset to be compromised? Well, that's a vulnerability, a weakness in the system, a weakness in the software, a weakness in our locks and doors. Something is a vulnerability if it can compromise, if it's a way that our data can be compromised. The threat is the thing that can cause the harm. So the threat is, what is the threat? Is the threat burglary? Is it denial of service? What is that thing, that bad thing that can happen to the asset? The threat agent is who can carry out that bad thing. Not necessarily a person, but usually. So a specific person or thing that can compromise the asset. In other words, someone or something capable of doing something bad. Not necessarily malicious, but something bad. That's the threat agent, the hacker, the employee, and so forth. The risk, that's the chance that something could go wrong. What is the likelihood? How often, if I don't protect something, for example, how often would I expect to get compromised, for my data to get stolen? Exploit is the actual carrying out of something. So the bad thing actually happens. That's the exploit. Now, we are going to see terms here in the future, things like attack, the word attack, very similar to the word exploit. And so we use these terms in different ways, but these are very, very technical, and you really need to understand carefully the difference between these particular terms because they are used in very specific ways. Unlike the terms I mentioned up here that everybody uses them a little bit differently. Well, the reason that these have to be so specific is we actually use these terms when we do calculations, for example, to figure out where we're going to put our money in our security system. And so that's why they have to be very specific terms. In the next video, I'm going to talk about just a few important notes about these terms, and then we'll do the terms part 2.